Okay, so hi Harry, welcome. Come on in, have a seat. We're just starting right now. You're right, perfect timing. So I'm just going to say a little hello for the video that I'm making of the talk and say that I'm Therese Murphy and we're here at Unity in Chicago and we are talking about the astrological energies of 2019. And we have lots to talk about today, and I always remind people that if you don't speak astrology, don't worry about it. Just let the language wash over you, and then a lot of times I start with an astrological phrase, and then I talk about what I think it means. So you don't have to take it all in. We are making a video, and I do share that with attendees via email afterwards. So if you want a copy of the video, you'll have to get me your email. And then for those who did not attend the talk, they can purchase a copy of the video. And also, one last thing about trying to take all this in, because it's usually a lot of information, I do have handouts at the end that sort of encapsulate all the major themes that we're talking about for you to look at and reflect on. So even if you kind of at the end saying, wow, that was a lot, and I don't know how much of this I'm going to retain, you'll have the handout to take with you. And that's a beautiful summary of all the major points in the form of questions for you to look at and work on and take with you. So please don't feel stressed out about trying to hold on to all this. And you're welcome to make notes also if you want. So this year, the reason I talked about change this year is because numerologically we're in a 3-year of a 9-year cycle. So in 2017 we talked a lot about the new cycle that began. In 2018, last year in our discussions, we talked a lot about consolidating momentum and building, some solid steps in a process towards our goals for this current 9-year cycle that started in 2017. So this is a 3-year, and I'll talk a little bit about what it means to be in a 3-year of a cycle. But 3-year is about change. So we like to think that any new year is about change, but a 3-year is especially good for change. And I'm just reminding myself that usually when I start talks, I just do a little bit of a backdrop about what I think astrology is and why it's useful. It's just sort of my tradition for how I start each talk. So I like to remind all of us that the planets are not in charge. The same intelligence that created us created the planets. So the way astrology works is we can use planets like objects in a mirror reflecting our own consciousness back to us. So as it is above, so it is below. So if there's something going on here on Earth, we would expect to look up at the planets and see their dance and their configurations reflecting those similar themes back to us. And in fact, that is how it works. So it's like a reflection of our own consciousness. They're not in charge of us. They don't compel us to do anything. But by the same token, they do express, just like our lives express, our lives unfold. So it's useful to know about the planetary movements because we know what themes they relate to and what they can help us understand this unique moment of time that we're living now. And they can help us understand the unique moment of time that we were born into and what we're all here uniquely to express. So astrology, in my view, is the language of a living universe expressing itself. And each individual's horoscope or chart reflects that living universe and how it's expressing itself in your human nervous system. So it speaks of the interrelatedness and the interconnections of all of life. And some other useful phrases that I like is astrology is the archetypal language of the soul. And it helps us understand more about the evolution of the soul and the path and the steps and the choices that we're making in this lifetime. It reveals our cosmic hardwiring and where the cosmos and our human psyches actually connect and how they touch and what that evokes for us. So we're all born into a unique moment of time. In astrology works, we look at a chart for an individual based on the date, time, and place of their birth. And that special configuration of those planetary energies in our solar system won't repeat again in that same way for almost another 26,000 years. So if you think you're not unique, Or if you think, well, I'm a Leo, I must be like all the other Leos, you're not. You have your own unique piece of consciousness and divine intelligence that you're expressing through your human nervous system in this lifetime. So it's pretty cool. So another level of looking at this year's astrology would be if you wanted to have your own astrology chart done. So I'm talking about astrology today in a way that this is the weather forecast for all of us. Just like if the weather forecaster says it's going to rain, then it's going to rain. But your astrology chart shows more like, well, what are you likely, where is it going to rain? It's going to rain in your front yard, your backyard, at work. Do you want to stay home that day? Do you want to take an umbrella? So it's a little bit more interactive when you take these energies and look at your own astrology chart. And yet this is good stuff for us to know about and to plug into and to work with through the year. So I believe that when we get together to talk about these energies, we become more conscious of them and they become more like our allies. So it's like we invoke their wisdom, we invite them to come more alive in our own consciousness, and we can become more aware and we just sort of automatically start working with these themes more consciously, whether or not you're walking around thinking about it this year. And I also think it can be really affirming and validating, because some of the stuff I'm going to be talking about, you're going to say, oh yeah, I've already been feeling that, or I've been aware of that, or I've been having that issue. And I think a lot of times it's useful to know that astrology can validate and affirm our human experiences. So instead of thinking, I must be crazy or I'm doing it wrong, it's like, no, this is what's going on right now. And then you can begin to make more informed choices about how to have compassion for yourself and think about how you want to deal with some of this stuff. But I think it's really helpful to have compassion, like, oh my God, you mean I'm supposed to be feeling that way right now and other people are too? Yes, we're all in this together.
Excuse me, do you have those charts in the handout or no?
I don't give you all my work content, but if you give me your email and you have the video, it's on there. You'll be able to see it and listen to all these comments and absorb that. And I don't share your email with anybody else. You share it with me. That's just a one-way exchange, and you can always opt out if that is more convenient for you. So again, back to this whole concept that it's a 3-year. So in a 3-year, we begin to shift and we begin to make adjustments and we begin to add variety to what we're doing. It's like we've got some momentum going. We're 3 years into a cycle, and then we start to get a little bit bored. We're like, could I be doing this different? Could I be talking to other people about how they're doing it? That's why if you know any Gemini people, they're very inquisitive. They like to talk to people and look at things from different points of view. So in a 3-year, we're combining, we're adding, we're growing, we're looking for more ways of working with the momentum that we've been building the last couple of years. We don't want to just keep trudging along or plodding along. Last year we talked a lot about the energy of 2, which is sort of like dutifully just keep doing what you're doing so you can build some momentum. And also, I have a blog on my website, so a lot of the stuff that we talked about in previous cycles, a lot of the videos are on there. So some of the stuff I can't recapture because it's too much material, but I might refer to things that are still in play this year that we really highlighted in a major way in the last couple of years' talks, and those videos are on there too. So I put some images. These are tarot cards of 3s, and you can see, I like this 3 of Swords where you can see that this character is like, okay, I have enough now. I have enough information. I'm out of here. Like he's leaving these people behind, and he's going out on his own journey, like to test some of the things that he's learned about and to get some more information. So that's a 3. It's like I'm getting a little restless. I want to know more about how other people are doing things. And I love this image in the 3 of Wands where you see that this team of elves or whatever they are building, and they're building something, and they've got some structure going, and they've made some progress. And I especially like that they're kind of being supported from the divine. Like, where are those ropes? They have ropes that are kind of holding them on their structure, but it's coming from divine sources. So there's this sense of we're building something, we're making progress, and we're being supported by a divine consciousness as we go along. And then I love the Three of Cups because that has to do with the energy of how we relate. So in the three consciousness, which I believe is much more about communication and relating, one cup represents one individual, the other cup represents the second individual, and the third cup represents the relationship that they're creating together. So it's not just the two. You know, a lot of people think the twos in the tarot are about romance or relating. I actually think it's three. It's a person coming together with another person, and then they create an exchange or a communication or a relationship together. So this is more the spirit of this year. And we still have a lot of earth energy that we're dealing with this year. We talked lots and lots and lots about earth last year because we have Saturn as a planet moving through an earth sign, Capricorn. We have Pluto as a dwarf planet moving through the sign of Capricorn, that's earth. We have Uranus moving back into Taurus now this year and staying there for another 7 years. That's earth. We talked about all that last year. So those videos are available. I even did a separate blog post of Uranus and Taurus, and that's available on the website too. I do ask that people not take pictures of the slides if that's okay. So we still have a lot of earth energy, which is also kind of plodding and slow and methodical. But this year we have earth without so much the plodding feeling because we've moved into the three aspect of the cycle. So there's a different spirit. We're saying yes more this year. There's more optimism this year. There's more upbeat energy woven in throughout the year. Yay. That's why the title of the talk is Change is Good. Because a lot of days or moments throughout a day this year, we're going to feel up for change. The past couple of years we may have been restless, but there was so much to do. There was so much to take care of. We had to just kind of keep putting our nose back to the grindstone in a lot of ways. So there's more, we are building, there's still plenty to do, but there's more of just a general sense of humor, there's more compassion available, and we're communicating more, we're reaching out more. We're not going to be content to just keep on keeping on. We want to know more about what's going on with other people and how can I connect and combine efforts with them. At least let me talk about it, let me think about it, even if I don't always pull the trigger, or if it's not always useful, or we don't always like what they're doing, at least we know more about what's going on around us. And a big theme this year, a big part of what we're going to talk about today is Cancer and Capricorn energy. Don't worry, I'll talk a lot about that. Those two poles, what that means, those two energies and their themes, and how that is different from and interplays with another big theme this year, which is Jupiter and Sagittarius. Those are two, there's a lot of interplay between Cancer Capricorn stuff, which we'll talk loads about, and it'll be highlighted in your worksheets, and Sagittarius, because they're actually quite different. And yet they're kind of woven in and out, kind of like those DNA strands. You know, they're kind of woven in and out through this year in really interesting ways. So that's a big part of what we're going to be looking at. I just put this picture of Earth on there so you can get a feel for when I think it's useful. When we're talking about earthy energy, just to see images of like, this is the earth path that we're on, as opposed to a watery path or a fiery path. And again, these issues of earth energy are still very much in play, but it's not what we're going to be spending our time talking about, because we have three big planets in earth signs for quite a while. So it's not, we still have that going on. So I did want to just touch on, earth themes and earth energies are about getting real, getting grounded, being practical, having routines that you honor and you try to stay with, and hopefully that this year you might change up a little bit to make sure that you are building progress, as opposed to like fire energy, which is all about action and inspiration and what seems fun. Earth is like, what's practical? What do I need to get done? How much money do I have to spend? How tired do I feel? Am I hungry? What's going on in my body? It's very much, if you know any Taurus people or any other earth signs, it's very much like, that's, you might talk about inspiration and fun and wonder, and they're like, that's great, but I have to go to work. And I have bills to pay, and I'm hungry, and I haven't done my groceries yet this week. That's more of like the earth wisdom kicking in, saying, yeah, I need to feel inspired, but I also need to get stuff done. And in some ways, it can be stubborn, and they can be, lack curiosity, and they can fall into monotony and things. So this year, we're going to be changing some of that up. So a lot of what Cancer and Capricorn, another reason why we're talking about that, and I'll get to this in a minute, is those energies are also emphasized and highlighted by the eclipses that we're having this year. And in the summertime, we'll have quite a lot of planets moving through Cancer Capricorn energy. So there's emphasis. Those are almost like when you put exclamation points on sentences that's woven through this year. So the eclipses really, I don't want to say detonate, God, that sounds scary, but they really sort of emblazon, when they take a cattle prod and just like, brand. It's like the eclipses really brand the energies like for months and months afterwards. Like these themes are sort of branded in our consciousness. Not like we're stuck with them, but it's our time to pay attention to these energies in a big way. And I think that even though we have two major outer planets expressing in the sign of Capricorn for the next couple of years, there's a big shift, I think, in our consciousness. I believe the universe is really inviting us to shift out of Capricorn and into Cancer. And it's not going to be an easy shift because there's still so many planets kind of anchoring us in Capricorn. And if you want to just have one headline, like what would that shift be? It's like out of patriarchal, old school, traditional, strict, harsh systems into more matriarchal, emotionally aware, emotionally intelligent systems and ways of doing things. So it's like, it's the same pole. It's still about being responsible, but it's being responsible from a whole different sensibility. And we'll talk a lot more about that. So if you want the headline, it's like out of being more of a dad and responsible for the way of being strict and giving advice and providing structure, whereas the mother would listen and the mother would be there to comfort and to provide safety and validation and nurturing. So we're all kind of making that shift to those types of sensibilities, and we'll talk a lot about, well, what does that look like? Because it's really limited. It's kind of more headline bullet point to say it's more of a mother's sensibility than a dad's, because even those roles have gotten stale and stuck, and there are various stereotypes like who gets to wear the pants or what shoes, or you know what I mean. But it's helpful when people don't know astrology to say that it's that type of shift, just to kind of give some language that you're familiar with.